Hello, so I thought I'd talk you through some of my GameCube collection. So up until about 2 years ago I had 4 controllers, I had 2 broadband adapters, I had a Game Boy player with disc, and then I sold it all off. And then I kept a few bits, and then I've added to my few choice bits. So I've essentially got all of the GameCube stuff that I want in order to play what I want to be able to play. So first I'm going to show you this GameCube. Now this GameCube I've had since about 2002, 2003. It's a Japanese GameCube that's had a switch fitted. And this particular example at the moment has the Kaiko HDMI adapter plugging into the digital AV port, which I'll talk a little bit about in a moment. And it also has a Game Boy player attached to the bottom, which you can see. So you can see it there. Okay, so what I've also got here as well is I've got a standard GameCube memory card here, and then I've got a Daytel SD media launcher here. So what I have is the SD media launcher for the US consoles. So this here, as I say, it's a Japanese GameCube that's switched, so I can switch it between USA and Japanese here. And obviously it's an original model, so I got it at a car boot sale in Crewe for £10, and it came with a Japanese power adapter as well. And in it at the moment I've got an action replay for the GameCube, which allows me to boot to the SD media launcher here, which can run Swiss, of which I'll show you a little bit about later on. So that's my Japanese GameCube. I can't actually remember if it came with a controller or not, but that's my Japanese, and I've had that like the longest of everything here. You just saw the HDMI adapter. This was about 60 quid on Amazon, and it allows you to have sort of like 480p out of your GameCube, so it's great for plugging into a HDMI screen. I used to have an RGB SCART cable, but I don't. The chances when I would actually plug my GameCube into an RGB SCART TV nowadays are few and far between. So I sold it, and I'm quite happy to just use it on the HDMI TV, of which I'll show you later. So yeah, I know I should. I used to play with my Japanese GameCube using the S-Video, because it doesn't support RGB out, only the PAL ones do. But again, these days, as I get older, you know, the opportunities to play are fewer and far between, so I don't tend to bother with that. I just want the convenience, and sort of the Kaiko adapter's about as good as it gets. I say I used to have 4 controllers. This one here has a faulty sort of D-pad, which means it's constantly flicks through things. Haven't bothered doing anything with that yet. I've got a perhaps slightly rarer, but well used, but it works really well, sort of like half and half GameCube controller. And I've also got I bought one quite recently, like a silver one, before they started getting too expensive. Okay, so always the official gear, because you know it's always going to be better than the others. You saw my Game Boy player there earlier. I don't have the disc for this. I sold my one that had a disc, and I bought this because I know I can use GBI, Game Boy interface, with it, which is a piece of software that you can boot from the SD media launcher. So certainly new technology has made these older consoles really, really usable. Here is a PAL GameCube, and this one has, I do have a media launcher for this one as well. I have a memory card for the PAL one, and I have a memory cube one for the like Jap/US one. This has another SD media launcher in it. This one here, it says for use in European consoles, because this disc wouldn't actually work in the other one because it's a Japanese console. What I also have as well is what's great, and if you look here, we've got serial port 2. If I have a look in serial port 2 here, I actually have a, how can we show that? There we go. I've actually got a 32 gig SD card in there as well, plugged into the serial port, which Swiss, which I boot from this memory card, can access. So I can actually store lots of games on there without having to actually put a disc in. So actually, the only thing that I really use my disk drives for is just to boot up Swiss, which is normally into here. So I do have a, this is the box actually for the PAL GameCube that I just showed you, but inside this box actually is a black GameCube with a faulty disk drive. You can get disk drive replacements these days that just allow you to boot straight to the Swiss software that I was just showing you there, or just talking about, but I haven't got around to that yet. There's nothing wrong with the way that I'm booting at the moment. Games wise, I've got Bomberman Generations I've had for years and years and years. Used to play this 4-player like in a games club sort of back in 2002, well 2003, 2004 sort of time. Fantastic game, maybe not as good as the Saturn one, but still pretty good. The Star Wars is really good. Played these when they first came out, and they've got the sound effects are good, and obviously it's Star Wars, and it's got the arcade versions built in as well, so they're really good as well. I actually haven't got many GameCubes now because I've got this SD to SP2 solution to play games from SD card. I actually got rid of most of my games because I'm quite happy to play them from SD. Super Buster Move I bought in Amsterdam actually, and that's good fun, so I kept that. I essentially kept all the games that aren't actually worth that much money, and the other ones I sold on. And this one here is R Racing. The reason I have R Racing is because in PAL it came with Pac-Man Versus. And so what's a really cool thing you can do is when you've got a GameCube which has a Game Boy Advance player, you can actually sort of you can set this up so that you actually have somebody playing on. You can plug this into another GameCube, and you can essentially have two GameCubes plugged in together and have the game on two screens. The way that it's meant to play is that somebody plays, the Ghosts play on the GameCube, and the Pac-Man plays on the Game Boy Advance. You can actually do it on two TVs if you've got the right equipment. I sold my. I don't really have the ability to do that anymore, but I need to rebuy a Game Boy Advance cable because I sort of sold it foolishly, but they're not that expensive, so we'll get round to that again at some point. So anyway, so I've got 3 GameCubes. They're the only games that I've got these days, and not much else to show you, I don't think, just the other launcher. What I'm going to do though in the second part of this video is to show you Swiss working on the GameCube. Okay, so here we are. I've got my GameCube here. This is my PAL one. Got a memory card in slot A. I've got the SD media converter in slot B, and this has a 2 GB SD card on. These devices are limited to reading from 2 GB, which obviously can be a bit of an issue, but there's ways around that. And then inside I've got the SD media launcher for a PAL GameCube. So let's start that up. And there we go. Okay, so now we are booted from Swiss 0.4, and it's not the latest version, but it's pretty much good enough for what we need. And actually, what I've got access to here is I'm actually accessing the SD to SP2 32 GB card that's in the serial port 2. You can see that on the left hand side there. So it says there's 10 gig free, 18 gig used. And so what I've got on here then is I've got sort of like lots of different games, which it saves me having to even sort of put the discs in, of course, which is really handy. And then I can start them up in sort of like different modes and all sorts. So let's just, for example, let's just start up. I've got Buster Move, so let's start up Buster Move. And then I've got some options that I can pick here. So if I pick X, here I can force the video mode and force various other different settings and whatnot. But I'm just going to go back from that, discard and exit, and then so I'm just going to go boot A. there we go. I can change the settings on the device if I want. So this is talking to the Kaiko. I can turn some scan lines on if I wish. Actually, it won't do it from there. That's just to set the settings. But I can do that from Swiss if I want to. I can force like different modes. I'm just going to exit out of that. So there we go. That's how it looks. And I think that that looks pretty good. Can't really complain with that. How it looks works really well. So really pleased with how that works. Anyway, I'll come back and I'll show you the Game Boy interface in the next video.